Hello everyone, welcome to week 32 of the weekly race guide, and this week we have some quite good races, to be honest with you. We've got a 1 at Alsace, which is a little bit short, but you can still have some good racing. We have Group 3 at Suzuka, which is always good, and Group 1 at Nurburgring, which is a little bit different. Let's jump to race A first of all, and I'll take you through that in a little bit more detail. Welcome to Alsace, and not one of my favourite tracks, but this time you can actually have some good racing. So let's look at the race details first of all. It is 2 laps here. A little bit short in my opinion, and you'll see that in the race. We have a grid start, and we are on sports hard tyres. As always with race A, the car is provided for you, and it is a 1 as you just saw. And we are in the Peugeot 208 GTI, so front wheel drive, lots of fun. A little bit tricky to get the hang of initially, but once you do get the hang of it, you can have some good racing. Now speaking of racing, let's jump to that now. I'll take you through some tips and tricks. So, first of all, traction control on 1. That is exactly what you need. And watch how many spaces, or how many places we get, sorry, as we'll leave that. I just turn it off just before I change to second gear. So that's something you can do, and it will gain me a little bit more of an advantage. As we head towards turn 1, I'm going to be on the outside, which is normally very scary, but look how wide the track is. It's actually fairly okay to be on the outside here. You shouldn't have too many issues, and you can see up ahead, no one's gone off. No one was even close to going off. It was a slow enough start, and happy days. Now, I stayed in third gear here, because you didn't want this delay in gear shift that just happened there, okay? If you have that delay in gear shift from second to third, you potentially could lose a spot. So keep it in third. It'll feel sluggish, but it'll pick up speed. Don't worry about that. As we come into hit, you're going to have to be careful of lines here. So you can see somebody is going to chuck it up the inside here, and then they're going to understeer a little bit into me. You see someone's gone off there on the outside. Just be careful of that if you're on the outside and try to take a time trial line. That people will try and chuck it up the inside, and they will understeer off, okay? It's just the way this car is. It will understeer. We carry on anyway. I'll take you through that corner in a second, but you change mid-corner in 4th gear just to avoid understeer. As we come to here now, watch, you get on the radar. You can see people braking extremely late there. Now, a time trial line is very much stay to the left, really get a nice line through the corner. And I actually had to lift off the brakes to avoid that contact from behind. Well, I wouldn't normally do that. Now, you stay in 3rd gear here. Don't change to 4th. Keep it in 3rd. You'll get near the limiter. You might hit the limiter slightly. Don't worry about it, because obviously you're braking for this corner. Keep it on the inside. You can see somebody ran wide there. I give it plenty of space because, look, this track's so wide. We're actually having some good racing here. You know, no one's absolutely gone off to Narnia here. As we come through this right-hander, again, a pretty scary corner. If you're on the outside like this, be prepared to just try and do some form of cutback like I do here. As we go through there now. And heading towards this right-hander, the hairpin, this is a very sketchy corner under the brakes, okay? It's just be very careful here. You can see I'm just half braking here. I'm trying to avoid any oversteer. Now, my brake balance in this car is +5. I'm trying to avoid that understeer, being front-wheel drive. So what will happen is the car will oversteer. It oversteers on 0, but it'll even more oversteer on 5. As we come through here, I get this slightly wrong. I tried to flat it. It doesn't work, flatten it. So I'm going to lose a lot of speed here. Now, as you go up the hill, do not change gear going up the hill, okay? That is critical. Change gear going down the hill. Remember, there's a gear delay. And if you change gear, that delay will slow you more going uphill than going downhill. Brake extremely early for this corner. You can see Tom up ahead just went a little bit too deep. And that compromises his left here. And through there we go. And I keep it in 3rd gear again. We're going downhill here as well. No need to go to 2nd gear there. The acceleration and the downhill will get you into that peak performance that you need. Right, let's go through some brake markers now. It's only 2 laps here. So first one here is the curb there. The start of the curb, use that as your brake marker. I brake just before this. And I'm going to take a wide line in and through the corner because I'm staying in 3rd gear and trying to maximize the speed. Now, if you go to 2nd gear, you want to keep it tight. But here I'm trying to maximize the speed. And you can see through there we go. And we just get in the power band there. And then it's slipstream. Okay, and I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit. Get to the next corner. You don't need to see this bit. It's all happy days. As we get to here, those arrows on the left-hand side. The first one, that is a brake marker for you. You could use the cones, of course, because you can see I'm braking exactly on the cones. But that arrow mark on the left-hand side is a good marker. You're braking just before that. Again, remember, a time trial line is a very wide line in towards the apex. I just missed the apex slightly there, but you can see how much time we gained versus going tight. As we continue through here, you're going to see me shift to 4th there. That stops the understeer. You can see how much of an advantage we're getting versus Tom. As we head towards here, again, start the curb here. Start the curb, perfect marker for you there. I'm braking a little bit early here because Tom's on my inside. I know Tom's going to potentially try and keep it down the inside. Maybe go and try and outbrake me. Actually gives me plenty of room, so shout out to you, Tom. Very well played there. Keeps that position, and we continue on racing. As we advance further on now, arrows right hand side. So you notice how we're just using curbs and arrows here? They're the best markers on Alsace that I can tell you, because they're just nice and easy. They're big, they're obvious, and you'll be very close to them at all times. So remember, don't change to 4th there. I changed 4th briefly, don't change to 4th. Going through here, it doesn't really matter what line you take. You want to just clip the end of that curb there. That's a perfect apex. Now, as we head towards this left-hander, there's no real marker. You're going to have to just judge the braking. So you can see I'm up and down on the brakes quite a lot here. See how Tom went a bit harder on the brakes? That meant he oversteered, and he just slightly caught there the GTPL driver. But, you know, no harm, no foul in the grand scheme of it. It was just a little mistake. We go on the inside of Tom here. We have to give Tom space, remember, on the outside. There's no real braking there. We just give enough room there for Tom, and we have a good race up the hill. Remember, do not change to 4th gear until you're going downhill. You see Tom's had a better run there because he was on the outside. Heading down the hill, remember, brake early. Brake a lot earlier than you expect. Now, I use the curb as a sort of reference to how close I am to the corner here. You can see the curb very far in the distance where the cones are. I'm braking early here. Look how early I'm braking. That's to avoid hitting Tom. If Tom decides to brake early, but I'm braking early as well, so I can get a nice line in towards the right, and it gives me a good run for the left now, because I could open that corner up. I could bring it across in 3rd gear, accelerate through, and look at the run we get on Tom here. Now, obviously, if we're going on to a 3rd lap, which I think the race should be, we potentially would get it. On the final lap, do not change to 4th gear either. Keep it in 3rd all the way to the line. And that's Alsace and race A in a nutshell. Let's jump to race B now, and let's head to Japan and look at that in a little bit more detail. Welcome to Suzuka then, and race B, and this is one of my favourite combos because it's Group 3 and Suzuka. We do this in the BOP test, so I was instantly on it here. But before we jump to the race, should I say, let's have a look at the race details then. There are 4 laps here in race B. It's a rolling start, so you're going to have to be a little bit careful if you're starting before the chicane. And we are on racing hard tyres. Now, as I say, it's a Group 3 race. So originally I was going to jump in the R8 because that was the top of the leaderboards, or that was at the top of the leaderboards. I can't speak today. But even so, during the unlisted stream, Hasnain said, why not the McLaren? And I was like, yeah, why not the McLaren? It's currently top of the balance performance test. Let's jump in the McLaren. So we jumped in that 650S and we went for a race. So let's jump to that race now. I'll talk you through some tips, tricks, and a little bit of karma. So here we are at the start, and as always with Group 3, I show you the grid. Look at that, a mixture of cars. So bring what you like, FR, MR, it doesn't really matter. It's 4 laps of absolute fun. So here we go. You see traction control on 1 because we are starting before the chicane. So I always figure, let's have a safe start. I'd rather not spin out on the last corner before I've even crossed the line. So as we get ready now. And what, P11 and P12 have a really bad start there in terms of where they start in the positions. WDP gets rid of the cone. Happy days because it's in an awkward place. Turn traction control off. Here we go with the race then. So we're going to head down towards turn 1. We're actually going to do the lap guide first because obviously we've got a significant gap between drivers. We might as well do the lap guide first. I'll take you through some of the braking points. So heading towards turn 1, there's 2 markers to really look out for here. You've got the left, which is your initial brake marker. I use the tarmac all the time there. And on the right, I use that to judge my speed a little bit and my apex. It's another piece of tarmac. So I'm braking using the left, and then I'm using that to get a good reference. So coming into here, I trail brake. Be very careful about running wide there. Obviously, if you hit the outside curb, you're going to go spin into Narnia. So going through here, this is all about balancing the cars. You can see I'm in 3rd gear. I drop it to 2nd. There's a slight dab of the brake there. Back up to 3rd. I'm trying to just follow the corners through, balancing the car with the throttle, and then drop to 2nd gear here. Don't normally brake, but I broke a little bit there. And then as we come up here, again, it's all about balance. You want to chuck it in, should I say, not tuck it in. But you want to clip the curb, and it should pull you around a little bit. And we continue on. Be careful about running wide there on that left-hander. Heading towards this right-hander, Tidgney 1, I use a 50 marker as a reference. I don't brake at the 50, I brake before the 50, but use that as a reference. So you've passed 100 at this point, there's the 50, so now you know you need to start braking. And you can cut quite a lot of Tidgney 1, to be honest with you, and be careful of the exit there. And as you approach Tidgney 2, you're using the exit curb as a marker again. You can see I'm braking well before the curb. I say it's just a marker, so when I see that, I've got a rough estimate of where I should be braking. It was just after the cones there as well. So you can use the inside curb there. Be careful on exit here. That AstroTurf very slippy as German Herman there goes for a spin, and that's actually caused by a driver who we'll talk about later on. Anyway, coming up to this hairpin, the curb there is my reference point always in any car. So I use that as a reference. End of that curb, that's where I'm going to start braking for this corner. Now you've got to be careful because it's on a slight kink braking this early, so you do have to be careful of the car oversteering. Going through here, get on the accelerator. The car will oversteer a little bit, especially if it's an FR car. You will experience a lot of wheel spin there. Just be very careful. Now we go flat out all the way to Spoon, of course. Now, at Spoon, What you're looking for here is the tarmac on the right hand side. I use it all the time. I'm going to brake a little bit early here because there's a lot of action going on ahead. I'm braking early to avoid any contact and getting involved in it. So you normally use that AstroTurf there, or AstroTurf, it's tarmac. Use that tarmac there, you brake, and you normally drop a gear. So you can see I'm down to third gear. Be careful about running wide here at the spoon. And then you're going to use the end curb here on the exit of spoon as your next marker. Now you've got to be careful about using this marker because you're looking at it, the car will start to drive towards it. Well, obviously straight after that is AstroTurf and it's very slippy. So just be careful about doing that. See here, there's action going on ahead, all sorts going on. Lots of side-by-side action. We're going to head now towards 130R. Now, one of the critical things with 130R is to take a massive risk going through WDP there. One of the massive risks or problems at 130R is some people like to brake for it. I never brake for 130R. If you are going to brake for it, just a quick dab of the brake around or just before the 50-meter board. You're going to see the Ford do that in front, and I'm going to have to panic brake here because I don't brake for 130R. It's very, it's a corner that I figure would make your car more unstable, but you know, that's a brake marker to use if you need one. And heading towards the Casio triangle, the right hand side there, as that pit lane starts to open up there, the early one, just where that yellow marker is, I use that all the time now. It's a lovely marker. It's a perfect distance towards the chicane here. So then you can cut a little bit of the first, a lot of the second. You can cut that massively. I've shown you that in the bot test. And then you continue on out, and then we've got a bit of a race. We overtake Bazinga there. Bazinga having a little bit of issue in the GTR, which will have issues here because it's hard tyres. Lots of wheel spin there. Same at the hairpin again, as I mentioned earlier. Lots of wheel spin. So going to head towards turn 1. You can see how fast this McLaren actually is. We've got a run on the Ford GT here. Heading towards turn 1, side by side, very dangerous. You're going to see me here start understeering, so I have to really back out of it. And I back out of it again there because I didn't really have an overlap with the Spaniard there, so it's like, okay, I'll back out of this. No point wasting a lot of time here. They have a 3-second penalty. But some good racing there. Be very careful going side by side though in that turn. Because literally, a slight bit of understeer, you're going to ping pong physics and go off to Narnia. So there we go, we gain a place, and we're going to have a run on the Luxembourg driver now. Heading towards 130R here. So this is lifting and not braking, as I say. I just lift, get a bit more oversteer than I wanted there. So a lap 4, I think I lift and do it a little bit better. But we head towards the chicane here. Ooh, we see a driver off there. Who is that? I can't quite tell who that was. Vasily was off there. Unfortunate for that driver. I'm not sure whether there was an incident there or not. Right, we're going to head towards turn 1, and look at this. It's the same place. We're making moves all day and every day. This McLaren is absolutely epic at the moment. A very underrated car. Anyway, on the inside of the Luxembourg driver here, down towards turn 1. He backs out of it. He's going for some form of cutback here. Going to be very hard to try and nail. Just gets it a little bit wrong, but it's not the end of the world there. You know, he's not punting me off to Narnia there. Got it slight bit wrong, just missed the apex slightly. Hey, we all make mistakes. It was all good. We still had some good racing there. So no worries at all. Anyway, we go to the next lap. We're going up to this Italian now. Now, well, look at this. It's the same move again. This McLaren's proving quite popular here, I think, with this, or will prove quite popular anyway. Head towards turn 1. I realised that I left a bit too much of a gap there last time, so I'm going to really bring it tight now. And we go into here, and the Italian does the same thing, but then straightens up here and just pushes me off. Like, what? I was so confused about it. We actually looked at the replay as well. So I streamed this, but I unlist it, so only if you're in the Discord you can watch it. You know, it's not to have exclusive content, it's just that I stream it just in case anyone wants a bit of entertainment for like an hour. Anyway, the Luxembourg driver goes for a lovely move around the outside. This is a brilliantly well executed move there, Ober. Well played with that one. Saw that I had dirt on my tyres, went around the outside of that right hander. I'd say superb driving. So I had to back out the left because obviously the driver was there. Anyway, coming into here, Tidgney 1. I'd say you can cut that quite a lot. Be careful if you run wide. You see how I overlay there, brake and accelerator. That stops the oversteer, but we just understeer there. And unfortunately, that AstroTurf, deadly, very deadly. So just be careful. It's very slippy there. And we're going to use the same brake mark again, the end of that curb. So you can see we are catching up to this Italian fairly quickly again. I think we would have been in that fight for P5, to be honest with you. But we are going to catch up to the Italian. And I did mention Karma earlier. Now, yes, you will see what happens. Yeah. Well, anyway, I won't spoil it. Well, let's look at Spoon here. This is where I normally brake. I'd say the tarmac. Remember I said I broke early last time. I broke exactly on the tarmac this time. As another Spaniard there goes off at Spoon. It reset his car. A really dodgy play. I do hate these track resets. They're really annoying. They really should just plonk them on the straight somewhere because they're going to have to accelerate anyway. Anyway, we continue up to 130R. So this is that lift off that I mentioned, okay? So where I just lift and I carry a lot more speed. And because I keep on the throttle a bit more, the car stays more balanced. Notice how I was on like more towards 40-50% there as I hit the grass. And that's absolutely fine. So heading towards this chicane now, I'm like, okay. And then he gets it all wrong gear. So I think, okay, I'll have this, thanks. I'll do exactly what you did to me there. Thank you very much. Happy days. Through I go. Apparently, he's done this a lot of the time. He just straightens up all the time on exits and pushes people off as he goes to push the other driver off. I don't know much about the driver. That's what people were saying in the chat as well, so I don't know, but that's just karma, really. But a good race, and congratulations to Up North Lad there with the victory in the Supra. I say, look, mixture of cars there in the top 10, so pick what you like. Happy days. Let's head now towards Germany and the Nurburgring for our Group 1 race in Race C. So, Nurburgring, just the GP section this week. We're not going on to the full Nords, and an interesting race this one. We haven't used Group 1 for a little while. So, what are we using here? Or what are the race details, should I say, first of all? We are racing 10 laps here, and it's a rolling start. Again, be careful with these rolling starts, especially in Race C with those tyre temperatures. The tyres are going to be cold when you set off, so use that traction control. We are using racing hard tyres, that is it, so don't worry about pit stops here. It's a flat-out sprint race, and we have fuel usage of ×2 and tyre wear ×6. Now, the cars are an interesting one. So, obviously, we're going to be using hybrids because they're very much dominant at circuit-based racing. And it depends what you want to use. So for qualifying, I would recommend the Audi R18, the 2016 car. It's got the most aggressive hybrid system in terms of its power. You then want to use potentially the Toyota or the Porsche for the race in terms of stability. The Toyota will have a little bit more hybrid and better hybrid capabilities, while the Porsche is going to be very, very stable. So it's your choice. And the Audi is still viable in the race as well. So it's your choice. Pick whichever one you like. Have some fun. Let's jump to the race now. I'll take you through some tips, tricks, and I go for a little bit of a spin. So here we are at the start. You see a Porsche straight off the bat and then a Toyota. So as I say, any of those three cars should be happy days. Not many people pick the R18. And as I say, for the race, I probably wouldn't either. It can get a little bit sketchy. So here we are, we're beginning. A bit annoyingly, the AI uses some of your hybrids, so very frustrating. But even so, traction control on 1. Remember, with tyre wear, you have tyre temperatures, and they will be cold because you've just been sat there. So, traction control on 1, off we go there. You can see it already being used there. You can hear the wheel spin as well as we then hit the right-hander here. As we go through here, we're going to accelerate out, and again, you're going to see a little bit of oversteer, and then we catch it. And then jobs are good, and we can turn it off, and we should be golden from this point on. We're going to go straight into a track guide again because it's rolling start. There's a bit of a gap here. It's best time to do it, to be honest with you. So heading down here, last time we were here, I mentioned the tree, but this time I would use the tarmac on the left, the very end of it. That seems to be the perfect job in terms of brake markers. I'm braking early here because it's lap 1, minute 1, but later on in the race, that's what I'm using the end of that tarmac. I stay in second gear here, do not go to first gear. You'll just get all sorts of oversteer and carnage and all sorts of stuff as we then come through the left-hander. Now heading down here, you're going to use these marks. I've mentioned this before. These markings, when there's a lot of them, that's my brake marker, okay? And I'm going to head towards the very inside of this next corner because it's very grippy on the inside. It'll just pull you around. It's very nice. So watch how I get on here. I instantly try and keep it left. Notice I gripped a little bit more. Then I get a nice line for this right. I have to slow down a bit because of the Belgium driver. But we continue on out of that corner. Heading up to here, same brake marker I always use, as I've mentioned many times, where the Nurburgring GPD track goes, literally the second part of that here where I've highlighted, you're just going to use that as your brake marker. You see I'm braking early again, it's lap 1, minute 1, that's why I'm braking early in these. I'm just giving you the brake markers to aim for when you're on a normal lap. Again, end of the curb on the left hand side for this right-hander. You want to keep it tight on the first left for this one, because remember, you're going to have a big acceleration period all the way down to the hairpin, so, you know, keep to the left, get a nice line through the right and then accelerate out of here. Obviously I had the compromised line there, so I'm going to be very slow out of it here in this situation. Heading down here, there's a couple of brake markers you can always use here. I've mentioned the score on the right, but here you're just using the grey bit. Start the grey bit, just hit the brakes and head in towards the apex. You could do a double apex if you want to here. Personally, I don't think it's recommended. You see, I'm just keeping sort of one line here. I'm just trying to get around the corner, accelerate out of the corner. Heading up to the Schumacher S, be very careful here. You will have to lift in dirty air. You see, I lift, I have to brake a little bit as well because the Belgian driver brakes. And as we go through here, just be very careful. You'll see more action there later on. As we head up to here, so you're going to brake literally just before where that teal AstroTurf is. I'm braking very early here because the Belgian driver had already started braking. I was very cautious of that. I realised we were braking fairly early. And you're about to see me get punted from behind as well. Get a big old punt there from the German driver. Just wasn't reactive enough. That's all it was. We'll look at that German driver in a little bit as well. So the right-hander there, it's all about judgment, generally speaking. Once you're straight, you brake and turn in for that right-hander. We're going to head towards the chicane now, the chicane. Very sketchy chicane in this R18, but you're going to use where it goes thicker. So you'll notice a grey guttering on the right. It goes thicker around the 100-meter board, and that's what you're going to use as your brake marker. Just before that, you're going to brake, drop second gear. Don't go too aggressive into here. You want to actually brake early to get a better line. As you notice, the German driver goes way too deep. Well spotted by the Belgian driver, though. Spotted it and avoided it. So that's really good driving, really good awareness. As we head towards the last corner, white van man's back. You're using that on the right hand side. Very simple. White van, see it, brake. Job's good. And then you're going to want to keep a tight line for this right-hander. Get out and off you go. But yeah, again, a good shout out, just a shout out. It doesn't have to be a good shout out. A mega shout out to YR2 2012 for very, very good awareness. That's superb awareness. So yeah, so shout out to you. As we head down now, we're going to have some racing action. So again, the German driver goes very deep into turn 1 there on the Italian driver, and there's going to be some more contact. So, you know, just needs to back off a little bit. So I'm saying they're not a dirty driver, and the specific reason for this you'll see later on, because it just seems to me they're just constantly outbraking themselves slightly, and they just need to rein it in a little bit, okay? That's one thing you'll find with these cars. When you're in dirty air, the braking distance is exponentially, which means grows bigger, quicker when you're in dirty air, okay? So you might brake at the markers I've said, but if you're in dirty air, you're going to have to brake earlier, as you saw I did. Unfortunately, the Belgian driver there, a little bit of a spin. Don't touch those curbs. They're very, very nasty. What can I say? We're advanced a bit further on now. Lap number 3. So we've got both Germans in front of us now, heading towards turn 1. We hit the braking zone where I said we should hit the braking zone. Again, keeping it in second gear. And through there we go. Again, some more side-by-side action here. It's all good stuff. Go up the inside. Just have to avoid it. Good awareness there from Alleluia, the German driver. I'm going to say German driver just to keep it safe. Again, look, just that slight outbraking there. I can tell they're trying to be clean. You know, it's not a case that they're not trying to be clean racers. They're just outbraking themselves just that tiny bit. So that's one thing I would recommend. Just reel it back a little bit. I'm not actually sure what happened there. It sort of all veered off and went a bit weird, but we sorted it out. Happy days. Anyway, into the right-hander. And through there we go. Again, we're going to have try and see if we can have a look on the German driver. Not going to quite have it here. You notice we're at a hybrid now. The Toyota, that's its strength. It will keep its hybrid for a lot longer. The Porsche, not as much as the Toyota, but obviously it's more stable. One thing I will say with hybrid, brake balance to the rear, okay? Put your brake balance to the rear of the car. You see, oh, look at that, Schumacher S. I said, gotta be careful that understeer, get a move on the German, in towards the left-hander. I know he's going to try and outbrake me, which is why I give a lot of room. Still a slight tap there, but again, as I say, I can see they're trying to be clean, you know? And this is one thing I mention quite a lot of the time. If somebody is really trying to be clean, and it's very obvious, you know, they're not a dirty driver, they just need to improve their driving. That's all it is. As we head towards the chicane, and again, I knew this was coming, and then boom, another hit. Again, another just outbraking as the other German driver also goes off. So it's one of these where, you know, if you're listening, Alleluia, just brake earlier. Honestly, when you're in traffic, just brake a little bit earlier. You'll nail the corner. You'll come out the corner, and you'll be fine. So we'll continue on. Oh, as I was saying with the brake balance, +5. In order to get the best hybrid. It just means you're braking longer, really, and that's how you're generating it a little bit. In addition to that, oh, another little lunge there. Again, you can see they're let off completely. They let me go then, and then they just calm down again. You see, very clean driver. I'm also going to put a link at the end of the video in terms of hybrids. So I have done a driving school on this. If you really want to get in-depth knowledge of the hybrid system, check out that driving school video. It's very helpful. I'll put it in the description as well. So that's lap 4. We're going to go a little bit later on in lap number 4, and we've called up to Jericho, the Italian driver. So we're going to head up towards the chicane. As I say, it's a very tricky corner break, a little bit before where it goes thicker. And you notice again, Jericho just goes a little bit deep here. You can cut the first part, it will make your car unstable. And then Jericho actually falls foul to the hybrid system there. On exit, understeer. Just be careful that hybrid system. You want to make sure you're really on circuit when the hybrid system hits. It's very, very powerful. Very powerful. So, you know, make sure you're straight. You're not going to run off. Otherwise, you're going to have to lift. Hybrid system then becomes useless. Or you're going to understeer off as Jericho did. Now, I'm going to show you a weird penalty. And I'm going to talk about penalties in a separate video, which is coming. It's pretty much edited already. But basically, it's been talked about in the past where AI or AI cars effectively can decide whether a player gains an advantage. This line, I always run at this corner. You know, just running out a little bit wide there and going through there. So you can see it doesn't pop up straight away. So I know it's not really because of that. I know that's an AI car decision, ignoring track limits. It obviously sees that because I've got a hybrid system, I've gained an advantage because I'm so much faster. by the next corner. I really dislike that. I really dislike that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right with that scenario as the Polish driver there takes a penalty. As we catch up to UK Gadget Man. I think UK Gadget Man's on GT Planet. But this all gets posted on GT Planet. It's a good place to go and visit. GT Planet, lots of information on there. Lots of discussions happen on there as well. But just runs wide again at the Schumacher S. You've got to be so careful there. It is better to have a slight lift there if you feel you're understeering a lot in that corner. I lifted quite a bit. As you see, we've merged to lap number 7. That was one of the best merges I've ever done because I didn't even spot it. Yeah, you've just got to be careful. It's better to lift initially and just get through it. So we're heading up to the chicane. I'm going to try something different now. Rather than being in 2nd gear, I'm going to be in 3rd gear because I'm purple. I'm thinking, oh, excellent, here's a fastest lap. But notice how the bump there gets me round. Spin, spin, spin. So what I'm going to do, whack traction control on as fast as I can. Try and get round, and then off we go again. Fortunately, I'm not in anyone's way, and we can continue on racing. So why did that happen, first of all? Well, that happened because in 3rd gear, remember this is an MR car, okay? So in 3rd gear, there's no weight over the rear wheels there. The car really isn't pushing down on the rear wheels, and we jumped over the chicane. So there's no weight over the rear wheel, and the weight's in the rear, and we've just jumped. The car just got loose. I tried to go to 2nd gear to counter it. That made it worse, and that meant I span round. So it's very much the 2nd gear. Just be careful of that chicane. That can happen, but you do want to straight line it as best as possible. As you can see, I'm 3/10 up here on a 0.9, and the fastest lap is essentially a 0.9. So we're aiming for a fastest lap here on the final lap. So this is how you do the chicane. So you can notice how I dropped to 2nd gear now. I'm going to try and straight line this first part and the second part. And once I'm over, I can accelerate across there and then use a white van man on the right to get round for the final corner. And that is it for this week's race, guys. I actually think some pretty good races, to be honest. I think you can have some fantastic ones this week. You know, the penalty system doesn't seem to be having a massive impact here. Don't get me wrong, some people are getting penalties, but I think you can have some good races. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. As always, congratulations to Max Power for that P1. You know, great job to all the people I did race here. Very clean. I say alleluia. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Just reeling your braking a little bit, and job's a good one. But as I say, that's going to be it for me now, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in another video or live stream very soon.